Good morning.
Good morning, coffee moaners. How are you?
I wish we had a jingle.
Yeah, can we do that, please?
Oh, the jingle jangle. Yeah,
Jingle
I have got one, but it's too hard to find it now.
But yeah, welcome. Now, I'm imagining that we might have some people here that we don't normally have because it's so early for us.
Or we have virtually no one here.
Yeah. We do coffee moaning every day, Monday through to Saturday, and we usually hear more sort of mid-morning. But we've got a lot on this week, so we might be doing more 8 o'clock-ish. We'll see.
Yeah, earlier. Hope that's not a headache for you. Maybe you can watch us in bed.
But welcome, my goodness. So
what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about...
talk about the fact that I've had to change my outfit 3 times
Have
because
you?
we've been through winter, summer, and spring.
What, today?
Yeah, we've had a storm
summer now.
overnight. I've got to go out and I'm like, oh, okay, now it's pouring with rain. Oh, okay, went outside, it was hot, so now I've got to put a t-shirt on. It's just changed again.
Mandy, we don't have a filter
The world's
on.
gone mad.
We've done that old-fashioned thing of having a
I've
light.
actually put a light on.
Yeah, we put a strip light across the top. It's called a wand light.
I sat down in it. I went, oh, is that a bit bright? And he went, is it? I went, yeah, it's a bit Hollywood. So he's turned it down. We're trying to get it to the right.
It's great.
And the reason we've got it is because of said weather.
Oh, it's one of these lights. We use them on film set.
Put it under there and see if it takes 10 years.
Well, no, but it's a great
Look at
light.
that.
Yeah,
Look at that, baby. That was nearly your coffee.
Yeah, you can put them anywhere. You can. Well, yes, you can. They're handy. They're like lightsabers. Can I have my coffee back, please?
Well, you nearly knocked it over your bloody phone.
All right, guys. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about Kamala Harris, her speech at the Democratic Convention. She accepts the honor of representing the Democratic Party, the Democrats. But we've got some strong feelings about what she had to say, what she didn't have to say, and her position on issues like Israel and Palestine. We're going to be talking about the BBC firing Jermaine Jenas, former Tottenham footballer, presenter of the One Show, sports commentator, presenter. I have to confess, even as a Tottenham fan, I wasn't.
I don't know who he is. I was surprised because it popped up on a couple of my WhatsApp groups yesterday about Jermaine Jenas. I was thinking, I'm not going to say, but I don't know who that is.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
But now we do know, of course. We are informed.
Exactly. And we're going to be talking about the Alzheimer's drug, a staggering breakthrough that happened earlier this week.
Oh, my God.
And we're going to be talking about an organisation called NICE that is responsible for allowing or not allowing certain drugs to be used on the NHS.
Which we have been having a fight, as you know, myself with and actually I'm seeing Hannah today.
Yeah.
Going with Hannah to get her wig. And
So we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about that and why, and the sort of short-sightedness that there appears to be around so many sorts of decisions, and why the Alzheimer's Society charity have said this is such blinkered thinking as well. When you look at the costs,
there's hardly a person that isn't going to somewhere be touched by Alzheimer's dementia. Rather like the fight that we're having at the moment for this drug in HER2 for secondary breast cancer.
I'd recommend, well, before we get to that, I would recommend they change their name to NICE, because I mean
they're not nice. That's what I put on my Instagram, wasn't it? Everyone keeps saying that to me. Nice, not very nice. They're the ones that say no.
Yeah, no, just call them no. Okay, I just want to start with a clip. We like to show something a little bit more lighthearted, and I'm going to show you a clip. Well, I'm going to show you this clip, and I want you to tell me who this is. You ready?
Whoa!
Sorry?
Whoa! He's so crazy. Oh my God! Oh my God! Are you all right?
I'm okay.
Oh, you sick? You crazy? Oh my God!
Robert De Niro diving 39 feet from a yacht at the age of 81 to celebrate his birthday.
You're joking.
I think he got the same injury that I got.
This guy's such an idiot, right? We've just been on holiday. We just found the perfect spot after a very sort of challenging holiday. And everything was gorgeous. I was out on this salt lake.
Doesn't mean we're not grateful or realise that we're lucky to have been on holiday.
We don't caveat here. We don't caveat. Bobbing along in this lovely salt lake. And suddenly, this one... to show off, he literally admitted it. He said, "I did it to show off to the girls, our daughters."
I did.
He just leapt like this off the side of this pontoon. Did you say pontoon or platoon?
Pontoon.
Oh, it's a pontoon.
Not a platoon.
Yeah, that's platoon, that's the army. And he just flung himself down.
It was a bit more dramatic than that. I literally threw myself sideways.
Right? I knew that area of the pontoon
Off the pontoon.
was that deep, right? Thank God you didn't do what he did. And he jumped off the side, and the sound was unbelievable. Smacked the side, had a bruise from here to here. What is it about men?
To be honest with you, Faith, I had done a recce swim there. I wasn't going for depth. I was going for shock.
He was going for shock.
But what I didn't realise
he was an idiot. He admitted it.
Yeah. What I realised was I did essentially a belly flop, but it was an ear flop and it was a side flop. And when I hit the bottom, I didn't hit the bottom. When I floated to the bottom of the sea, this huge thought hit me, which was, wow, that was really painful. It was
so impulsive. I have to say,
serves you right,
extremely ADHD, impulsive behaviour. Like anyone who's got ADHD children, even more so with boys, though also with girls can be. That was classic. Just suddenly out of nowhere, just do something so dangerous.
And it was a day where I was having a break from my meds, so that could account for it.
39. He jumped 39 feet.
39. I think 39.
What is 39 feet? I can't remember.
Whoa!
Oh, the way he landed on the back.
He's so crazy.
How far is that?
You sick? You're crazy. Oh my God.
I'm fine.
How many feet was this?
30.
Shit.
30 feet.
You know what? It sounds so like Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey. She was saying that lovely timbre to her voice. But
anyway.
Yeah, don't be a prat.
Okay. I hope he hasn't
and that
hurt
goes
himself.
for you too, Robert De Niro.
Yeah,
Just because you're a big movie star doesn't mean you can't be an utter prat.
Lee Durran, the way in which I did it and the end result in no way suggests I was an adrenaline junkie. I was a sad man in his 50s flopping around in the water.
It was so funny because one of our daughters said, yeah, I saw him do that and I saw him pretend he didn't hurt himself.
That was Kiki. Yeah. She's one of few words, but those
she
words
hardly
hurt.
moved. She's like Betty, isn't she?
When
those words come, you better run.
Deep, especially because they're usually dealt with a blunt instrument like a spoon. Okay, so here's Jermaine Jenas. This is the guy, presenter, former sportsman. He also works for Talk Sport, I think. He's been fired by the BBC, allegedly. Well, he can't have allegedly sent something that was inappropriate because they couldn't fire him with such conviction. This is him with his wife.
This is what I wanted to ask, Martin. Sorry, I am behind on this story. And if you don't know yet, know the answers to these. So
they must know enough.
There must have been some sort of investigation before this because... It's always you're suspended first.
Well, yes. So I think what's odd about this is the speed with which it's happened. They haven't talked about there being an investigation. They've talked about a female member of staff, a runner, as I understand it, and a couple of other women have also come forward. And the inappropriate messages, they've gone to great lengths to say that nothing illegal has happened. So this isn't about... I don't understand how it can be illegal. It must just be a breach of code and conduct. I wonder whether...
I mean, it would be illegal if it was threatening, if there was any threatening language.
Yes, exactly.
But if it's flirtatious, sexually overt, unpleasant...
Yeah, a female member of staff has claimed she received unsolicited communications via text. Others have now come forward amid a probe into messages, according to The Sun. The source added there is no suggestion of illegality on the ex-footballer's part. That doesn't necessarily mean actually there isn't. That's just covering your bases at this point. The presenter is understood to have told his wife of 13 years, with whom he has 3 daughters. This is always the moment. It's always the extended family that's so heartbreakable. He has said himself...
And parents and aunties and uncles and cousins. And because when you've got a star in the family like that and a football star and everybody knows that your relation to that person...
Thank you, Victoria Moore makes a good point here. I just want to pop this up. Harassment is illegal, isn't it? Unsolicited would say so. Well, exactly. It's curious. And especially the strength of
the laws are still strange around that when it comes to texts. And last night we were watching Sky Papers. Got a bit of a major crush on that lovely man, Alex Andrew.
Is that his name, Alex?
What a lovely, gentle, smart, kind, considered, whatever, the way he talked about everything, I listened, you know, gentle.
Yeah.
But, you know, he was making a good point. He said, you know, at this point, nobody knows what was said in those texts. And he said, more and more, we're starting to realise how these famous people that do all this stuff with the written word, at some point are going to catch on that this is not going to be good for them, you know, because parking this case totally to one side, we have no idea what's been happening, what's been said. It is difficult because sometimes, you know, as he was saying, wasn't it? There's an atmosphere. There could be a smile. There could have been a flirt earlier on at the lift. There could be this. There could be that. And then when something is put down in text, when, as we know, you know, we can all get upset, can't we, and completely get the wrong end of the stick in texting. And I think it's a very dangerous thing to do these days, to be flirting. I'm not talking about this case. He might have been saying the most terrible things. But I'm saying I think people are going to be more and more and more cautious about this.
Yeah, I think it's really important to sort of stress, you can be deeply flirtatious, incredibly suggestive, overbearing potentially, and not reading the room, I think, and not have done necessarily something strictly illegal. It doesn't mean you're not being what's the word?
You could,
it's not like you're not exerting pressure
at work. Somebody would do that for then, or you.
Well, I'm just thinking of what we didn't find out, or did find out from the Jerry Horner Red Bull. You know, her husband was involved in a whole texting a work colleague. That went into an investigation. But you're right, that went into a huge kind of court case and investigation or internal investigation before they did anything.
Well, I think this will as well, because as Jermaine has said.
Well, he says, yeah, all right, now I can't talk about it. I can tell you I'm not happy. There are two sides to every story, and I'm going to be speaking with my lawyers on the issue. Again, could that, you know, one never know. We don't know the intricacies of this, but to the extent of who was courting who, I think that could be tricky.
Talking more generally, I think people have to be incredibly cautious because you might not be a predator, you might not be, but you might be somebody that's a bit clumsy and says the wrong things and reads stuff wrongly, and then you know, and then if you put it down into text, that could really. But I mean, I think there must be something quite considerable for him to be sacked. As we say, we don't know any of the stories.
And also, let's not beat around.
So let's wait and see.
And let's not beat around the bush. Of course, if this happened to you, you would immediately want to. You know, it's not surprising that he's pushing back hard, because if you don't push back hard, silence perhaps suggests skill. Zoe made an interesting point there. Made much worse by the fact that he has daughters. It's weird that you should say that, because I think it's bad. I think it's bad for the family. It's bad for any family when this happens. But I know what you mean,
and I like that you've said that, because people always say that sort of thing about mothers. And she was a mother. Like, how could a mother do whatever it might be? But we don't really say that about men.
And again, Vic, you're right. I think one of the major headlines here, it's clearly a runner. It's the age discrepancy. It's a position of power, going back to the Philip Schofield situation where nothing illegal happened. You know, the idea of abuse of power, exploiting your position of seniority in a workforce, it could well speak to that. But you're right, in a febrile environment,
we have no idea. But I am a great believer in really challenging this star discrepancy of power, because I keep repeating this because it's so important, because we don't know anything about the details of this, and I don't want to besmirch anybody either way. But having been in a very popular soap opera for a number of years, and then been around all kinds of different powerful within their stardom men, I have seen behaviors. And I have seen younger people being judged for being starry-eyed around a star. Right. It is always the star's responsibility.
Yes.
Always, as far as I'm concerned. If you can't understand that power balance,
you're a moron.
Yeah.
Or, more sinisterly, you're exploitative.
Oh, you're exploitative.
A good point again made by Marina O'Driscoll. I think you're absolutely right. The BBC are like a cat on a hot tin roof at the moment.
Exactly what I was going to say, because of Hugh Edwards.
And also Strictly. I mean, you know, you've got a huge, and also the
because you can't do right for doing wrong.
No.
You know, like there will be people coming out today saying, well, how can he be sacked before there's an investigation? I do think sometimes the BBC are really bad at actually telling people what's going on.
Well, they're not only bad at
because they should have
telling
said
people.
There's been an investigation or not.
Well, they're not only bad at that, but they're also they're always inconsistent across everything that happens.
Yeah.
There's always a unique set of circumstances rather than what seems like a set, fixed protocol.
Yeah.
Just going back quickly to
It's almost like some tartans. What's going to get? Would you say this? That's what it feels like, isn't it? Yeah, but when people, like, you ask people to invest in your stars, it's like Lee Durrant over on Instagram because, I'm so upset. I really like Jermaine. You know, we are asked to love and to invest in people that are put on television, and therefore there is a sense of ownership of those people. Oh, I love this person. I watch their show. And so I think people are owed a kind of explanation back, don't you think?
I agree. I do, but just I just want to quickly mention before we move on the daughters thing again. It is an intriguing detail, that, because for me, I feel privileged in that I've been sober for so long. I was brought up in a certain
20 years sober.
And, I have daughters and everything like that. But one of the major barriers to sort of lewd or suggestive or bad behavior of a certain type that you see in men all the time, where they look at women. I can't look at women anywhere near the ages of my daughters and think of them in any way, shape or form as other than my children's peer group. It doesn't cross my mind.
I feel so sorry for people when they like their parents get divorced,
so
and then the parent gets with somebody their age.
I mean, all of that, I just never understand. So I think you're absolutely right.
Must be so hard.
I'd feel like saying to him, whatever he said. I mean, I remember saying to a colleague once when they were talking about something, I said, you've just said that about that person. They're the same age as my daughter.
Good man. That's what we need. We
they went
men
incredibly
to step
quiet.
up and say this shit. We are tired as women of trying to sort this shit out. We need men to go, hang on a minute.
Exactly.
What are we talking about?
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to play you some excerpts, which I haven't edited down, but have found in a convenient fashion because we're early, of Kamala Harris's sort of hot points of her speech.
Should we just talk a little into this?
Yeah.
So over the last 10 months, we have, on a very regular basis, spoken up for what the Palestinians are going through. In the first week after October the 7th, we spoke about the horrors of October the 7th. We also know about the 75 years before October the 7th of the occupation of Gaza and the apartheid and all the horrors. Just in case there's anybody new here, my father is Jordanian, which borders the West Bank and Israel, and my mum's English, and so we've been invested. We're very invested in this, and have been desperate for a ceasefire and desperate for just even a flicker of understanding of the horrors that have been perpetrated day after day after day. So, though we had very low hope for the Kamala speech, we had very low hopes for the Kamala speech. We woke up this morning, and then this is what we've had to do.
We're going to play. That's a lovely lead, and I do just want to add a little thought to that, because I heard something you were playing to me the other day, which was really made me pause and think. And this is an important detail. I think someone was pushing back against a CNN journalist. And their point was this: 20 years we've had the smartphone, and over 20 years social media has, in a sense, emancipated information. It's also led to huge kind of nonsense that's promulgated, misinformation, fake news. But it's also actually, let's remember the Arab Spring and all that. It's been a huge tool for revealing and throwing a spotlight on things, prior to which had been hidden and controlled by mainstream media. And he made a really interesting point to this CNN reporter, which was essentially, no one knew about the problem in this region over 20 years ago, because it was only the mainstream media that reported it. You'd get the occasional moment where someone like Jeremy Bowen would go in and actually show the two sides of the situation. So the information actually isn't out there. We haven't actually known as a culture about the full 75 years. You have. From within the region, of course, everyone in the region has known the truth of it, but there's been no ability to even, Al Jazeera didn't exist all those years ago. It hasn't been covered. It hasn't been given any sort of equivalence. So the story has started, like that comic said, almost in season 8 of Game of Thrones. It's like starting Game of Thrones in season 8.
That's such a good line.
And it's a great way of thinking about it. It's like, well, what the fuck came before this? Well, it all matters, because otherwise this doesn't make sense, doesn't it? It does in a series. So why doesn't it in real life?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say that because I think, when we say that, we all know what's happening, we don't actually. And a lot of you guys have said, oh, God, I didn't realise the depth and the scale of the crisis.
And you know what has really been so meaningful to us? So somebody messaged me the other day on Instagram under a post I'd done and said, well, what's the point of you talking about this on social media? I said, do you know what? There really is. I said, because on a daily basis, Mark and I will get messages saying, wow, you know what? I didn't know that. And thank you for bringing this. And so it's been like that when I feel powerless, overwhelmed, absolutely brokenhearted, like some days are so dark for us as a family. And I go back to the serenity prayer, which says, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And we always say, what can we do? Well, the thing that we can do is keep having this conversation with people, because otherwise we're totally powerless over the whole damn thing. So thank you so much for you guys when you say that to us. It helps us feel a little bit more.
Alison Barber, I just want to quickly read this out before we go to the speech highlights. You were missed on the Popcorn Junkies members last night. Kamala's speech was devastating. She spewed out the same old lies and was so insincere when talking about Gaza. Was her speech written by AIPAC, the Israeli lobby? She is not working for peace. Diplomacy is dead. Well, let's have a look and hear.
Respect to the war in Gaza, President Biden and I are working around the clock because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done. I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself.
Just before, do you want to see the whole thing and then talk, or should we break it down?
I don't know. I think let's break it down.
Just on that point just there, just quickly, you made a really good point then, which was, well, shame on you. If you've been working around the clock and this is where you've got to, and all your press advisors keep saying, Israel's going to get back to us on that. Israel's going to get back to us on that.
That's shameful. A big, bad cross at your ability, because as we know, one phone call, and in 4 days, this aggression ends because they don't have the bombs. Thousands of pounds worth of, I mean, talking about weight of bombs has been dropped on. It's the equivalent of Hiroshima, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And so Israel has the right to defend itself. Israel has the right to defend itself, but a Palestinian does not have any right to defend themselves. And the thing is, it's racist. It's racist because 16,500 children we know had died about 6 days ago only because they are the bodies that are identified. There's way more than that under the rubble and everything. So are those children, to you, Kamala, are they not the same when you're standing up there as a ticket of a woman whose parents came to America? You're a woman of color and you don't get that sounds racist? It's racist.
Just on the self-defense.
And you don't have a right to defend yourself when you're an occupier. You are occupying. It has been stated it's an illegal occupation.
And on that point of self-defense, everyone on October the 8th said there was a moment for self-defense. Understandably,
Absolutely.
Everyone has the right to stop the killing of people. But I do also think that Israel has opened this new fact, which is you cannot have, in any set of circumstances, self-defense at any costs. And that's where we've got to. And I would go so far as to say that the constant use of the word self-defense is about constantly taking us back to a moment that was then. That, of course, there are still the hostages that need to be released, but there are also
poor souls.
And there are 9,000 of the hostages and prisoners held by Israel that haven't been processed or charged. So when we define a hostage, we define them differently. When we define an army, we define them differently. When we define a liberating force, we define them differently. And the point here about self-defense, I'm sorry, you cannot be given the defense of self-defense at any cost.
40,000 dead. That's just bodies that can be identified because many of them have been blown to pieces by American bombs. So you can't even, they're now weighing bits of body to say whether it's an adult or a child. So do not patronize the world with that bullshit. But what a horrible position we're in. Because it's got to be her, because it can't be Trump.
Well, let's hear the end. To be fair to her speech, she did talk about the Palestinians too.
Very briefly.
Bless her.
The people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7. President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
You failed.
You failed. You are a
haven't-
terrible failure then, aren't you? You and Biden. They are now, but the first cases of polio, because they will not vaccinate. People are dying of starvation. People are dying of dehydration. People are dying of lack of sanitation. What bit of this did you think we were going to buy?
Can I just also reiterate?
It's inhuman. It's inhuman to stand up there and not allow a person to stand up and say anything. This is the Democratic Party.
Here's
I was hoping it was
two,
just Biden.
Absolutely. Here's two simple details about this. It's just simple psychology and simple facts here. People have been driven towards the extremism of Hamas in Gaza due to the appalling treatment they've received for 75 years by the Israelis and the Western governments. Hamas do not control the West Bank. So if people, when you're having these discussions with people, if people can't get on board with that, because what they want to say is everyone in Gaza is Hamas, which isn't true, and Hamas is a terrorist organization, which it is, it's prescribed as a terrorist organization in this country. You've got to understand why Hamas has happened. Now, in the West Bank, where there isn't Hamas, just throw this back at them. There is no Hamas there. There was no attack on October the 7th from the West Bank. Why have 800 people been killed in the West Bank? Why have they been killed in the West Bank? And it's being described as self-defense. This spurious defense or explanation or justification is merely cloud cover, because what they're actually trying to do in the West Bank, because they've completely frozen all of their financial income. Organizations, companies, individuals have no money in the West Bank because the government of Israel has stopped their tax revenue getting in. And here's the thing, what they're trying to do in the West Bank is provoke extremism, drive people towards more extreme choices so that they can turn around to their big daddy in the sky or mummy in the sky America and go, they're being horrible to us again.
Every single thing we say, they've said it in the government, and they're fighting at the moment to allow rape to be the law. The video within the Knesset, which is like the parliament, they are in there saying it must be made law that you can rape a Palestinian if trying to get information, right? It's there. And the video is there. So all of this, not a single person through this convention was allowed to say a single word for those thousands of murdered children, orphaned children, innocent adults that have been wiped out. And so for me, I need her to be president, because I can't have Trump as a president. This is how I feel personally. But my God, she's got a quarter of a heart, as far as I'm concerned. Let's not care at all about those people. Let's
not forget Netanyahu funded Hamas because they needed Hamas. Israel needed them. Now, just quickly on that point,
look at the history of that.
I just want to say something quick before we move on to the Alzheimer's story. Just quickly, one thing they could have done at the Democratic Convention, which I think wouldn't have changed the narrative. It wouldn't change clearly where their sympathies lie and the fact that they're all kind of essentially in the pay of AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. But what they could have done, without, I think, any sacrifice to anything, was have allowed a Palestinian speaker the same time and space to talk about the disproportionate destruction of infrastructure, family, hope, land, and the history of what they've gone through. They could have at least allowed an equivalence, like they did fairly, to the relatives of hostages who are still being held
and I feel so sorry for the parents of those hostages and the hostages, because their government has continuously bombed them, starved them, kept them without water and without medication, So how much do they care? When Kamala and Biden have sent thousands of pounds in weight of bombs, how much do they care about those hostages? Because those bombs are dropping on those hostages too. They don't know where they are. No. And also, when you've got now finally Sky, Channel 4 showing the videos of, hundreds of men and women and children being rounded up, not hundreds of children, there are, dotted about children being rounded up and taken into these torture prison camps with no charges. That's on the mainstream media now. And then, tortured and then released with no charges. No mention of that. They're not described as hostages at all, which I find extraordinary.
Tanya makes a good point. Most Americans don't care about what's going on in Palestine. And to be honest with you, having just been in New York, it is not on the news in the same way. I mean, obviously, like you rightly said, it's on social media.
Of course it isn't, because it's a genocide. How do they want that on their that stain on their history?
Just quickly, I just want to say Abbas Alawet, who's the co-founder of the Uncommitted National Movement, which in America, when you vote, you can vote uncommitted to either candidate or any candidate on the ballot.
What do you mean?
You can say, I'm not committing to any of them. You can
which is what we wanted. Yeah.
We want this here.
Yeah.
He says that they have 750,000 voters protesting the US policy in Israel within the Uncommitted National Movement. And they're saying that they're more concerned now. They feel that they've missed an opportunity, the Democrats, to win over people in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Arizona.
Trump could get in.
This is a bad look. You're going to lose Michigan. And all they had to do was show a little bit of balance.
Wow. Just a
smidgen.
I mean, we're also realistic. We know that AIPAC, is the government, whatever government it is, and that as Obama said, you can't be a president and if you are anti-Israel in any way. So all we can pray for is that behind the scenes, she has more of a humanitarian heart for the suffering.
Joe McKenna makes a fair point. If she'd done any of what you said, her election hopes would be over.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a terrible stake. Hang on, let's talk about this is what gets me. You're absolutely right, Joe McKenna.
We've just said the same thing, Joe, at exactly the same time.
No, but the point is, isn't it weird that we can all say that and go back to having a cup of tea and a cup of coffee? But if anyone else interferes in an election, it's absolutely
the Russians,
sacrilegious.
the Chinese.
But it's all right for Israel. Hang on a minute.
And there's a lot of hoo-ha at the moment of this allegation that Trump has phoned Netanyahu and said, for God's sake, don't sign a ceasefire because it will get Kamala in.
Okay.
So there's another whole load of drama to come.
Alzheimer's wonder drug blocked for use on the NHS after officials ignored the costs to families. Now, NICE, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, of which Nadia has intimate experience, sadly, the Quango, as the Telegraph is calling it, has deemed that lecanemab is not good value for money.
Which is exactly what they're saying about Enhertu, which is this wonder drug for women with secondary breast cancer.
Now, I'm just going to present some of the facts here because I think this is kind of intriguing and it's important to say this.
And also, if anyone has direct experience of this, that is waiting on this drug or is heard about this drug and was really hopeful about it, please message us.
Yeah. Now, I just want to say, NICE assessed that the cost to the NHS of using this would have been $2 billion, which sounds eye-wateringly high. Dementia is becoming an increasing problem, and as we all know, and anyone here who's experienced dementia, Alzheimer's, or any other form of dementia disease in family, it's the carers, it's the families, it's the extended kind of relatives, and the framework and network around someone struggling with dementia. That's the huge cost. And I just wanted to share this detail that the charities have accused NICE of a fundamental injustice in disregarding the value of care given by thousands of families. Because
what that chap was saying last night on Sky Papers.
Absolutely. So when they say, wow, we can't afford this, it's going to cost $2 billion, the reason they're all pushing Wes Streeton to look at this is the cost of care is $2 billion.
Yeah.
In fact, it's $3 billion.
So, and that's not even, they're not putting into that the people that are doing this for nothing. Who are caring for nothing.
Precisely.
It's
so,
such
$2 million. It's a $2 million cost
face.
of care officially, but the real cost is $3 billion.
I have a friend whose mother had Alzheimer's, right? And she had 3 children, this friend of mine, and a full-time job that she had to keep to pay for the mortgage and 3 children. But she had her mother at home with her. But it was getting to the point where people were phoning her all the time and saying, neighbours saying she's out in the street and It was getting worse and worse. And then it got to the point where her mum thought that she had to pour the kettle into her hand, the boiling water. So she's absolutely beside herself. Her mum's really going to hurt herself. She tried to get her into care, and she was told that she wasn't bad enough to have any care. So so that doesn't go down as a cost. So then, it was her night. The nightmare went on and on and on. And the nightmare for people, carers, of people with Alzheimer's and dementia. And in fact, this chap that was talking on Sky Papers yesterday, he said also with the fear, with it being my family, that it's going to come to me. This is so like the fight that I'm having at the moment for this secondary breast cancer drug. They're not quantifying the loss. You know, a mother who who's working, paying the mortgage, looking after the kids, bringing up the kids, that all collapses because you just go, oh, well, we don't think 5 more years of your life is actually
they do a straightforward
anything.
spreadsheet equivalence, don't they?
Well, that all collapses in. That's essentially going to cost down the road the government a lot more. And I just think sometimes they don't look down far enough ahead.
I want to share this point because this is an important point, and I'm going to be not devil's advocate, but I want to ask a really tricky question off the back of this. Kazra, but lecanemab has to be administered by infusion every 2 weeks. Its impact is only to mildly slow progression, and it's got some very nasty risks associated with cardiovascular diseases. I have to say, not entirely similar to Enhertu because it prolongs, it doesn't cure, and you can have nasty side effects to that too. Your point there is, yes, they've identified, I think, once you put outside of those who could get this drug, those who would be at risk of cardiovascular diseases, there's something like 75,000 people in the country who could potentially benefit from this on the NHS.
But also what I would say there is, if you think about, say, chemotherapy, which does, you know, affect cardiovascular and all the different things that can happen from chemotherapy, there are always side effects to drugs. And my friend Hannah, who many of you know, has secondary breast cancer, worked for 10 years in drug trials. So the problem is when you don't take on the most recent effective drug companies then don't choose this country to trial other drugs. So what happens is, as her consultant said at the Marsden, it's not good for UK PLC because you keep falling behind and behind and behind. And we're already, in the case of cancer, way behind many other countries with our cancer treatment. Now, I don't know, but I'm seeing Hannah later today. I'm going to ask, I wonder if this is a similar thing with this drug as well. If we don't have the most recent drug.
Well, that's funny you should say that, because the other thought I had as well is, unless these companies feel that there's a potential marketplace even here, could it even dissuade them? Because the NHS is one of the biggest customers in the world. Could it dissuade them from even researching it?
That's exactly what Hannah said about Enhertu. I don't know if it's the same with this.
Can I just make a really challenging
point?
But
people want that hope as well, don't they?
But 2 billion... Is it just... Do we have to have an organisation that's in this invidious position of having to make really horrendous choices between the cost factor and the efficiency factor of drugs? I mean, you're always going to have a compelling case by someone with something. It's always going to be
somebody that will deem that this is more important. And to the people that are turned down, of course, I understand you can't have every single drug. What's upset us so much with Enhertu is that it appears that they changed the severity, the classing of secondary breast cancer from a severe illness where there's this pot of money to a moderately severe. I know many people with secondary breast cancer, none of them get a stage here as moderately severe. And so there's not the same pot of money for moderate severe as there is for severe. So it feels like, and we'll see if this Alzheimer drugs, it feels like hoggedy-poggedy where they're just moving stuff around.
I think, do you not also think, so maybe you do, there is an organisation that does have to do this. It's unfortunate that it's called NICE because it doesn't feel nice to the vast majority of people that it doesn't help. There's always going to be people that they can't help. Yeah. But maybe one thing they could do, which politicians are unable to do and the system seems unable to do, which is take a slightly more humanistic, collaborative approach with the communities and the charities and the people involved to actually, but when they share the news like this, they actually give you a bit more sort of meat on the bones as to why.
Well, there'll be a report on NICE website, which you can go and read. But of course, you're firefighting and you're desperate for hope, and nothing really that anybody says makes it any better. You just know the answer is no.
That's why we need a new system. See the whole picture regarding cost and value. Yeah, a little bit like.
Is there anybody else here that was waiting, that was hoping? And it's interesting that you can get it privately, which means that it is seen, as a valuable drug.
Lamia Safa says, trouble with Alzheimer's is so hard to diagnose. It took 7 years to get my mum's diagnosis.
Did it?
Zoe says Northern Ireland have declined Enhertu the other day too.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Have they, Zoe?
You can get it privately. Ashley Gardner saying, Dr. Hillary saying yesterday on GMB that to have the drug would cost $20,000 a year privately.
That's cheaper than in her too, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
So hope and then hope taken away. Breakthrough and then breakthrough taken. I mean, maybe perhaps what they're waiting for is a drug that has a more robust, overwhelming success rate, and then they have to step towards it, because presumably the cost factor would be massive if it guaranteed some
Thank
recovery.
you, Hilary Jones, for doing that. She copied and pasted the letter that Titty Gritty has sent to my MP. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, shall we sign off with these? Well, one's an interesting clip and one's a funny clip. The interesting clip is this. Have you ever seen someone harvesting honey? I have to say, whilst I watch, this is amazing, but at the same time, I felt for the bees. Check this out.
So beautiful, and still and brilliant, that man.
Amazing the way they just flew away. That smoking is quite something. Yeah, astonishing. And this just made me chuckle. Check out how this dog deals with being shortchanged.
Faith is hoping for the quiz.
Oh, sweetie. I can do that. I can do that straight after this. Of course, sweetie. I was going to do it tomorrow, but we'll do it today. But check this out. Dog, it's like, give me... It takes it out on that one, throws his sunglasses in, says, fuck no, watch, fuck that, I'm out of it. That's how that's what I'm like when I'm not given a Krispy Kreme.
Check out Coffee Moaning Instagram from yesterday, where I give Toffee the command to do a downward dog. She does it so beautifully on my yoga mat. Yeah, so guys, if you're new to here, I'm on at Nadia Sawalha. Mark is on at Mark_Adderley, and we also have at Coffee Moaning Instagram as well. So if you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Check us out. Anyone here will tell you there is so much going on here. There is food, there are movie reviews, TV reviews, there's vlogs. There's everything going on and going down. Gardening show. We do the whole. We're basically a TV channel.
Exactly. It's been a weird. It's been a weird week. We've had so many best laid plans. It's been frantic and busy with many other things behind the scenes. So we will be getting into a rhythm of content landing, podcasts.
I think we've done pretty well.
Oh no, absolutely. But a lot of what we've done this week hasn't gone on the channel. So I'm going to do quiz of the week now.
All right, guys. I'm just going to go finish getting ready. Go to see Hannah today. I'll send all your love to her. And I'll post something later on Instagram about how she's doing. Thanks.
Okay, guys, here we go. Get your pens and papers, or don't. Just sit with your fingers over the keys. I'm just removing that. I'm just doing some housekeeping on the screen whilst you get ready. Jackie Pugh, I'm newish and absolutely love you. We love you too, Jackie. Jackie Pugh. Welcome. Brain buster time. Here we go, Edward Bevington. Okay, question 1. Are you ready? Are we ready in the room? Nasty by US R&B star Tinashe was named UK TikTok Song of the Summer. Who was the only artist to feature twice in this year's top 10 list? Was it Beyonce, A, B, Billie Eilish, or C, Sabrina Carpenter? Nasty by R&B star Tinashe, I think that's how you pronounce the name, was named UK TikTok Song of the Summer. Who was the only artist to feature twice in this year's top 10 list? Was it A, Beyonce, B, Billie Eilish, or C, Sabrina Carpenter? We need another little logo at the top there, don't we, for Friday Quiz. The Friday Quiz that sometimes happens on a Sunday. Lots of you saying Billie Eilish, but Margaret O'Brien is right, saying Sabrina Carpenter. Question 2. The first £1 coins featuring King Charles III entered circulation, celebrating his love of the natural world. Which creatures appear on the reverse side of the coin? I haven't seen one yet. So many people don't do cash, do they? Is it A, bees, B, butterflies, or C, swans? Is it A, bees, B, butterflies, or C, swans that features on the reverse side of the King Charles III £1 coin? Lots of you saying A, lots of you, Sean Tucker saying bees. You're right, it's bees. Question 3. The joke, I was going to sail around the globe in the world's smallest ship, but I bottled it, by comedian Mark Simmons, was voted as the funniest at this year's Edinburgh's Fringe. Another of his gags also featured in the top 10. Which of these was it? A, I sailed through my driving test, that's why I failed it. B, My friend and I invented a new type of relay baton. Well, he came up with the idea. I ran with it. That's quite funny. Or C, my partner told me that she'd never seen the film Gaslight. I told her that she definitely had. Which of those was also up for joke of the year? A, well, I won't do them again. You've heard them. A, I sailed through my driving test. That's why I failed it. B, my friend and I invented a new type of relay baton. Well, he came up with the idea. I just ran with it. Or C, my partner told me that she'd never seen the film Gaslight. I told her that she definitely had. They're all very good, actually, aren't they? It's B, my friend came up with a new idea. Relay baton. B. Question 4, Manchester City's Khadija Shaw was named the Professional Footballers Association Women's Player of the Year. Who won the Young Player of the Year? Oh, this is tricky. Is it A, Aggie Beaver-Jones, B, Grace Clinton, or C, Lauren James? Who won the Young Player of the Year award? Was it A, Aggie Beaver-Jones, B, Grace Clinton, or C, Lauren James? Sadly, and rather embarrassingly, don't know any of them, I'm afraid. It's B, Grace Clinton. Question 5, Democrats from across the US gathered in Chicago to celebrate Kamala Harris as the party's nominee. Which of the speakers urged voters to help Miss Harris smash the glass ceiling and become the first female president? Was it A, Hillary Clinton, B, Michelle Obama, or C, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez? I knew which one this was. Because she was no axe to grind there, I think you could say, potentially. Which of those three? Was it A, Hillary Clinton, B, Michelle Obama, or C, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez? It was A, Hillary Clinton. Question 6. A rocket engine spectacularly exploded during a launch test at the UK's new spaceport in Shetland. I saw this, it's dramatic. On which island is the Saxavord spaceport based? Is it A, Bressay, B, Mucklerow, or C, Unst? Wow, we've got a rocket engine launch spaceport. So cool, isn't it? A, Bressay, B, Mucklerow, or C, Unst? Ellery Jones says C, Unst, as does Ali Fraser. Unst, you're right. Question 7. Any Swifties in the house? Taylor Swift finished the European leg of her Eras tour with a record-breaking concert at Wembley Stadium. Which of these artists did not guest star with Swiftie as part of her final show? Didn't. Which of these didn't guest star? Was it A, Jack Antonoff, B, Ed Sheeran, or C, Florence Welch? Welch. I love Florence Welch. Is it Welch or Welsh? A, Jack Antonoff, B, Ed Sheeran, or C, Florence Welch. Don't be confused by some of the clips you might have seen. This is her final show, part of her final show. The answer is B, Ed Sheeran, who was also seen diving into his wild pond, much to the consternation of his NIMBY neighbours, who said it wasn't meant to be swimming. There you go, guys. Have a lovely Friday. Lots of love. Thanks for all your contributions. Thanks for listening to us rambling on. Have a great Friday. I'll see you tomorrow for Coffee Moaning the papers early again. And there is a pre-record Curly Cooks and a pre-record Sunday show this weekend. Lots of love.